Welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to see the history of AI. So way back in 1946, the first computer, that is ENIAC computer, was made, which marks the dawn of computing. Okay. So what does ENIAC stands for? Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. So it is basically a general purpose computer, and it was Turing complete. So if you know what is a Turing machine, so later on we will see what is Turing machine. But if you already know what is whatever a Turing machine does, ENIAC was also able to do the same thing way back in 1946. So if you see the picture towards the right hand side, so the whole thing is the ENIAC computer. So it was that big, and it was used for doing some computations. So why was this ENIAC created? So basically the ENIAC was created for defense purpose. So it was used for artillery firing. So as we know, during the 40s and all, the World War was a big thing out then. So the defense, they always needed something that could ease their job. So they needed some applications that would help in for defense purpose. So from the very beginning itself, AI was heavily funded by the for defense purpose. As we all know that a country is going to give more importance to defense rather than science. So here the science was used for defense. Now there was a saying that ENIAC can compute the trajectory projectile within 30 seconds. Okay, but this the computation part of the trajectory projectile was earlier done by something called human machines. So nowadays, so at that time there was a job called human machines, so where the humans used to compute the trajectory projectile, and it used to take around 9 hours. The same job was done by ENIAC in just 30 seconds. So nowadays we don't even hear the name of human computers. So at that time there was a job for that. So this ENIAC was used for artillery firing. So this marks the dawn of the computing era. So in 1950s, Alan Turing came up with a philosophy. Okay, we all know who is Alan Turing. He is considered to be the father of computer science. So in 1950s, he asked this question: can a machine think? Just imagine in 1940, just in 1946, when we had these huge computers which used to do some simple computations, and at that time itself, Alan Turing was thinking about the future. He was thinking about whether, like, can a machine be able to think or not. So he had such a great vision. Now, how do you know? The question is, how do we know that a machine can think or not? So after a lot of thinking, he came up with this sort of philosophy that a machine can think. We can judge whether a machine can think or not by creating some scenarios or by asking questions to the machines, and based on the decisions that the machine make, we can say that it can think or not. So basically, how we will know that the decisions are being made? With the help of some communications. So this is a very critical part in AI, which is known as communications, because without communication we won't be able to know whether it is thinking. Even a human body, even a human being, if he or she is not able to communicate properly with other people, we cannot make out whether whatever we are trying to say to them, whether they are able to understand or not. So communication is a very critical point in AI systems also. So we can know a machine can think or not by creating scenarios, by asking them questions, and based on the decisions that they make, and which they will be communicating with us. Okay. So based on that, he came up with the concept of Turing test. Okay. So what is Turing test? We will know more about it in details in the later videos. So this Turing test, Alan Turing came up with this Turing test in that 1950s itself, when uh, like there was no one had a computer like small computer that we are using now. They had the big computers which used to do simple computations. So at that time itself, Alan Turing was able to think of such a concept. So in 1956, a group of four people, they proposed that they are going to solve all the AI problems in 2 months, and it will be done in, and it was like they thought of doing it in Dartmouth College, New Hampshire. So that was the idea. So one thing to note is that the founders of AI, all those who were involved in AI, were too optimistic. They were so confident that they thought of solving like AI in 2 months, but still it is not possible. Till now we are trying to solve. So much progress has been made in this field, but till now it is not done completely. But they were so confident, so optimistic, that they thought of solving it in 2 months back then in 1956. So it is there in Dartmouth College that the new field of AI was born. So there were four people involved in this, and they were known as the founding father of AI. So the first one is John McCarthy. He has done many contributions in the field of AI, and he is the one who invented or introduced the uh, language Lisp. Okay, it was a language that was used in 1970s or something like that. So Lisp was introduced by John McCarthy. Then other people were Alan Newell, Herbert A. Simon, and Marvin Minsky. Marvin Minsky is also responsible for many contributions in AI, and he was the first one who built the first neural network learning machine. So these four people are considered to be the founding father of AI. So in 1964, Eliza, the first chatbot psychotherapist, was made. Okay, this is based on AI. So using AI, this Eliza was made, and like there is a story that a person once started communicating with this chatbot Eliza, and it felt that it was like really talking to a psychotherapist. So it was the Eliza was like that in 1964 itself. Nowadays, though, we are having many chatbots available, but at that time, the Eliza was a big thing. Then in 1966, Cheeky, the first general purpose mobile robot, was created using AI. Now, if you see, there is a picture given in the right side of the slide. So so that is Shaky. So Shaky had many like what to say wheels, then sensors were available, rangefinder, then many television camera and all, everything was there. And and the interesting thing about Shaky is that during the development of the Shaky, the very interesting algorithm, that is a very important algorithm of AI, A star algorithm, was developed. And recently in 2016, Shaky completed 50 years, and those who were involved with Shaky, at least those were still alive, they gathered together to uh, they gathered together to celebrate the success of Shaky. So after getting such a good response in the beginning of AI, now the winters of AI started. Okay, now what do we mean by winters? Like in India, if we consider winters, it is a good thing. But if we see from US perspective, winters is like a very sad period, because the temperature will go down really very bad. So it is, in terms of a negative way, winters is considered. So based on US perspective, we are saying that the first AI winters came in 1974 until 1980. Why? Because the machine translation failed. Most of the machine translation failed. As I have told, the defense invested a lot of money in AI, hoping that they will get some results. So they wanted to understand the language translation. Okay, So they wanted to understand the language translation, and they invested in AI for that. Language translation means they were mostly interested in understanding the Russian and English translation, because it was the time of Cold War. So if anything in Russian language comes, they wanted to convert it to English. So a lot of money was invested in it, but unfortunately, not much results were identified. So it was considered as a big failure. And then there were negative results on neural network also. So there was a seminal paper where it was told that like neural network was not able to solve even an XOR problem, XOR sum. All of you know what is XOR, right? Or function, or not, XOR, all those XOR. So a neural network was not able to solve XOR problem also. And there was a problem with poor speech understanding also. So all these problems were going on in this period, so it was considered to be the first AI winters. Till now also, though a lot of tremendous progress has been done in all this field, but still it has not been solved completely. So in 1987 till 1993, second AI winters came. So during this period, the popularity of Lisp declined. This is the first throwback. And the second was that there was a hype about expert system. So what we know about expert system is that given any problem, you will put some logic to the problem. Suppose consider a health issue. So if these are the symptoms, these are the health issues, like that, whatever is the problem, they used to make some logic about it, put it into the system, and make some inference based on the situation. So that was an expert system. So like billions of investment was done to create on the hardware used in the expert system. So lots of investment was made in it, but gradually as the general purpose computers or other machines came into existence, the need of this expert system declined. So there was a huge loss on the hardware also. So decline of expert system was also an throwback, and this contributed to the second AI winters. So basically, we can say that during this period, AI was stuck between or sandwiched between two groups of people. So one were the theoretical scientists who were like, give me any problem, I'll try to find out the complexity and give you the solution, something like that. They used to prove things. Now, on the other hand, AI. So they were considered the theoretical scientists considered AI as informal. They used to say that okay, these AI folks, what they do, they can't prove anything, they just demonstrate. They have just some philosophy that they demonstrate, but they don't have any real life proof. And on the other hand, the application scientists were like, they don't have any, they produce some products which doesn't work properly. So a notion was came up that what is AI? AI is something which has some heuristic techniques, which uses some heuristic techniques, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. So that was the scenario of AI during that period. So finally, like a situation came at that time that AI was considered to be completely useless. So if there is anything that has got something to do with AI, people will just say, okay, like it is something which is not useful. So what came up is that some new fields came up, though they were related to AI, they won't say that they are related to AI. For example, they will say we are computer vision, we are not AI, we are machine learning, we are not AI. Then came up natural language processing, but they also told that we are not AI. But actually all these are like subfields of AI, but during that period no one used to confess that they were related to AI. So such a bad phase was going on during that period. After going through such a rough phase, finally the first success for AI came in 1996 when machine proved the theorem EQP, which proved that Robin's algebras are all Boolean. So it was done by machine. So it was a huge success, but even when this news came out in newspaper, it came with a headline that this would have been considered, this achievement would have been considered to be great if it would have been done by a human instead of a machine. So still they were not able to acknowledge the fact that the machines can do such huge things. So at least the first success, we can say that it came in 1996 after such a long gap of period. In 1997, there was another great achievement, Deep Blue. It is a supercomputer created by IBM. It defeated the world chess champion at that time, who was Garry Kasparov. So it was a great accomplishment because till that time there was not a single machine which was able to defeat a human being. But if you see the scenario now, can you find a single person who can defeat the best supercomputer, artificial intelligence machine? No, you won't find it. So that was a great achievement at in 1997. Another area in which this AI was highly used was in in NASA. So in 1999, a remote agent was used for the spacecraft Deep Space One, and its task was basically to manage the spacecraft. Suppose some default, so its the main work task was to understand, like if some fault occurs, it will have to understand the fault and try to solve it. So this was the task of the remote agent, and it was based on artificial intelligence. So for most of the time, this spaceship was handled from Earth. So what they do is that just to check whether the remote agent will work or not, they try to give the control of the spaceship to the remote agent for 3 days. And luckily, nothing went wrong with the space craft. Like everything was going well. So now, how to know that the remote agent will be able to handle any situation or not? So what they did, the scientists did, is that they simulated some errors or bugs into the aircraft system just to check whether the remote agent will be able to handle it or not. So they did some fault with the sensors and the control unit and all, and the remote agent perfectly understood the faults, and it tried and it solved all the problems perfectly. So from this, it was considered, even though nothing bad happened, but even when they tried to simulate it, the AI system was able to handle the errors quite nicely. So it was considered to be a huge success in the field of AI. So in 2000 and till 2004, the in NASA, they rovers were sent to Mars. Okay, so what is the task of the rover? They just go on the land in Mars, and they tries to see like if the what is there in Mars. So in 2000 and 2004, some planner using that used AI system was incorporated with the rover. So what happened is that suppose a rover is moving around, like without the AI planner, suppose a rover is moving around and suppose it finds a pit or ditch in on Mars, they will send a signal to the scientist in Earth. Okay. So after getting the signal, the scientists on Earth will sit together, and they will sit together and plan a sequence like what the rover should go do. Suppose the rover should move around the ditch and go ahead. So then again, if the rover finds another problem, again it will send signal and wait for the sequence of steps from the scientist. So basically, most of the time the rover sits idle. So the AI team in NASA, they came up with a solution that let us design a planner using AI, which will be able to plan the suppose any situation. If a situation comes, it will able to give a planning like what to do. Now the operational team in NASA, they were like confused. How do we trust a machine on it? So they had some trust issues. So the AI guys, they told that okay, we will design the planner and we will put a stopper on it. So if you don't want to use the plan or you are not satisfied with the planner, you can switch off the button and do it manually the way you are doing. But fortunately, the AI planner was used for many years with the rover in Mars. So this was considered as a huge success in the field of AI. And after that, obviously, many more things were done in AI in NASA. Then in 2005, there was a challenge in DARPA where the cars were supposed to drive themselves. That is, they were fully automated, like AI system was there, and there were no human drivers. The cars were supposed to run by themselves. So this competition was held, and there, like success was that cars were able to go through the whole runway successfully. So nowadays we're having cars like Tesla and all. So now we can think of driverless cars, but this whole journey was started from 2005. So it's a long journey. 2011, IBM came out with Watson, which was able to win Jeopardy against world champions. So that was also Jeopardy means it is a sort of quiz game where some clues were general clues were given in order to give the answer. So IBM's Watson was able to, it was based on AI, and it was able to win the competition against world champion. So with that, we have come to an end of the history of AI. In the next video, I will tell you what is the current state of AI. Thank you.